Welcome to Data Science Now, a podcast by Closter with your host Fabio Vasquez. This second season is dedicated to the basics of data science. On this episode, we'll give you an introduction to the season. Follow us on social media at Closter Team. This is Data Science Now.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new season of Data Science Now. I'm thrilled to have all of you here, and this is the beginning of a new way of how this podcast and live streaming and YouTube video is going to go. So first of all, I want to make the announcement that the day of the broadcast will be moved now to Thursdays. So I'm going to be live every Thursday at 8 p.m. CST. So please check your calendar and mark it, because the idea is to be live here every Thursday. So again, in the past months, I've launched 10 episodes of Data Science Now, and it has been awesome. Just to give you some numbers, right now we have almost 24,000 subscribers in the newsletter. So thank you very much for that, because it has been an amazing ride explaining these concepts with you. So if you remember the past episodes, I covered different stuff. I covered like how to get a job in data science, the history of data science. I covered the math for machine learning, business understanding, programming languages, and we even had an episode on the coronavirus, Netflix, so a lot of different stuff. Right now, my idea for this season is different. So the idea of this season is to introduce something I will call the basics of data science. And so today, the idea is for you to understand what we're going to do in this next few months, and I'm going to be covering different stuff about data science. I think I'm going to cover again, even though I did it in the past season, my definition on data science, and several topics will be very similar, but now we'll have a structure. The structure will be like this. Each session will contain some material on data science, and this material will be coming out of something like a methodology, like a process for data science, from business understanding to data collection until the final way where you deploy your model. So we're going to be covering each one of these steps in the process of data science. Again, the time zone here will be CST, 8 p.m. CST, because I'm seeing some questions here. So CST, 8 p.m. I'll be live every Thursday. Every Thursday I'll be here. And so again, before going into the details of the season, just something about how this works. So as I'm doing it right now, I will be live here on LinkedIn. And hopefully the next day or 2 days after that, I'm going to be launching the newsletter. And the newsletter will contain two main pieces. First, it will contain both the video and the audio of this session. And you can find them all the time on YouTube in our Closter channel. So if you search for Closter online on YouTube, you'll find our channel. And in there, you can already see our 10 last episodes for the last season, and you will be seeing each one of the new episodes. Also, we're transforming this into a podcast, so that will be also on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and much more. So make sure to search for Data Science Now on Spotify. Maybe I think it's one of the best platforms to hear podcasts, and in there you can see and hear. You can hear each one of the episodes. So now, again, so I'll be live here, and then it will be transformed into different pieces. In the newsletter, I mentioned it was two main pieces. So the first one is video and the audio. And in the next part, what I will be doing is I'm going to be explaining or giving some context of what I said in the episode. It's going to be like a basic not a transcript, but it's going to be, if I mention a book or if I mention some book or anything or something like that, I'm going to put in them there all the links, all of the material. And that is the way that I've been doing it for the past months. If you search for each one of the episodes for the last season, you'll see that I have some links for books for data science and for math, and I have videos and some explanations about what I said. Okay, cool. So now everything is clear about how we're going to do it. How can you find these episodes on LinkedIn? So you go to my profile. When you're on my profile, you search for my articles, because this newsletter is a LinkedIn newsletter. So if you want to find it, you go to my profile, go to my articles, and you will be seeing the past articles for the past newsletters and the new ones. Great. So what we're going to cover here, it's going to be a sneak peek of a course that I will be launching with Closter very, very soon. This course will be the basics of data science, and that will be the name of the course. It will be maybe launched first in Spanish, and I think after that, it will be launched in English. Okay, so Basics of Data Science is a course that I'm creating, and what are you going to see here in these sessions are a sneak peek of what I'm going to cover in that course. So we're going to get started by maybe one of the most important pieces in the beginning of every data science project, that is business understanding. And I did a session on this in the last season, so I'm going to explain a little bit on how I created what we're going to cover. So data science, for me and for a lot of people, is a scientific field, meaning that you need a methodology to work on it. You need a method to do the results, understand your results, and finally deploy your model or publish your solutions. Okay, a business idea into an actual solution. So the first thing is business understanding, like understand the context of your problem. And this is very important. You cannot build a data science solution if you don't understand your data. So you, in the first part of these sessions, I'll be covering the basic idea on how can you, on how can you can go into a company, understand their needs, understand what they really want to do, and transform that into a business case that you can solve with data science. After that, we're going to go to data collection. Data collection is a process where now you know, like, the context of the business. You understand what they want. You understand that they have KPIs and they are measuring some stuff. Now you want to see how well or bad they're doing. So you need to collect data. And for that, we're going to be covering several ways of doing that, with surveys, with like transactional data, social media, and a lot of different things that I'm going to cover there on how can you go and get data for your solution you want to build. Most of the time, the data is already there in databases, and databases can be relational databases or they can be graph databases. So I'm going to cover some small pieces on that as well. After that, we're going to go into the process of data preparation. Data preparation in data science is what we do when we want to start building and when we want to start understanding our data better. And that means data cleansing. You also, in data preparation, it's going to be like data prep / data exploration. Use the power of computation to go there and understand what you really want to do and what's the data telling you to do. So now when you understand your data, you want to prepare it for analysis. And that means we want to do encoding. We want to clean the data. We want to remove outliers. So I'm going to cover all of that. Again, just so for you to have an idea here, some of these sessions will contain a screencast. So maybe for some of them, I'm going to share some code, and we're going to be programming together. But like the actual thing is going to be in the course. So I'm going to be announcing the course in several weeks or maybe in 1-2 months. So this is for you to prepare on what you're going to be seeing there in detail. This is going to be a sneak peek on all of this. So after you prepare your data for a study, one of the most important pieces on data science is feature engineering. And what's feature engineering? Is the process on transforming the features you have for predicting something into something useful. Find new representations for your data. This is super useful. And this has been the way we do data science for a while. This was popular back then when kernels were very important, like SVM, support vector machines. They were very specific on how you needed the data to fit into those systems to be able to get a prediction. So we've been doing this for a while. It's been changing in this past years, and I'm gonna cover there several things. I'm gonna cover how you can do that from scratch with Python. Like you have some data and you want to create new features, and for that we're going to use several libraries like pandas, feature tools. We're going to be using a lot of tools that are also automated tools, and in there I'm going to be using Explorium. I have an article on Explorium, by the way, that I published last month. And in that article, I cover how these people at Explorium are making it easier for us data scientists to discover and to explore data. So that's going to be very interesting as well. Then I'm going to go to the process of knowledge, of learning. What does it mean to learn from data? Knowledge discovery. How can we go and understand what is inside of our databases? And that is before doing data science. That's before doing machine learning, okay? So that is the process on building queries, on building functions that will tell us more about the data we have. And for a lot of years, this was about creating, data science was named business intelligence maybe, and what we did there was we created rules that allow us to understand better our data. So I'm going to be covering a little pieces on data mining, knowledge discovery, and those are like the predecessors of machine learning. After that, we're going to cover maybe one of the things that more people care about, and it's modeling and machine learning. So modeling is the process where we take the information of our features or features to predict. We create a function or a probabilistic function maybe also, and we can get a set of predictions. Okay, so we're going to cover here 3 different ways of doing it. We're going to cover empirical risk optimization. We're going to cover functions like maximum likelihood estimations. And maybe, hopefully we have time to do that, we're going to cover something about Bayesian optimization. That's going to be very interesting as well. And those are like the most used techniques out there. Most algorithms that you've heard of, like decision trees and random forests and gradient boosted trees and neural networks and all of that things are covered in that way of thinking on what's learning. So let me do a recap on what we have right now. We're going to get started on business understanding. We're going to go to data collection. We're going to go to data preparation. We're going to go to we're going to go to data exploration, feature engineering, knowledge discovery, and then we're going to go to modeling and machine learning. So for most people, that's data science. Okay. So if you go there and you see some like old scenarios for doing data, for doing machine learning, that was the process. But data science is more than that. And we're going to cover something super interesting that's called data operations. I do have 2 articles on data operations, and those articles are explaining to you the importance of infrastructure, the importance on creating a system that can be continuously delivered, a system that contains continuous integration, and to build tests. We are doing or want to do science, so we need to do testing. We need to test our experiments, and that means, and when we're working for programming, we need to automate that. the idea of data operation is to automate a lot of different things we do in data science. Like, what happens if you have a model that you created in, let's say you have a random forest, okay? And it's been doing great. But now for some reason your boss tells you, hey, we need to use this data now. I mean, if you do it in the old way, you have to go again and do the whole process of data collection, preparation, feature engineering, machine learning, modeling, and again to get to the model. So that's not entirely bad, but if we can have a system that automatically can improve our models when new data is arriving, that will be awesome. And that's one of the things that we're going to cover in the world of data operations. So if you've never heard of data operations, I'm going to base my studies that we're going to cover in that episode basically on the work of the people from Data Kitchen. They're a big company that is doing awesome for data operations. They have also something called the DataOps Manifesto. I'm going to be covering that. And also we're going to cover some tools like DVC. DVC stands for Data Versioning Control. We're going to cover something called ML Flow. That's going to be very interesting to start understanding and tracking your models. And we may even use Streamlit. Streamlit is a great solution we have to deploy our models like a web page. So that takes me to another place where to another subject we're going to cover, and that is model deployment. I cannot tell you how many times I've been working for companies as a consultant or maybe as an employee, and it's not easy to deploy models. It's not even easy to understand what is a deployment for some companies. Sometimes it's business to business. Sometimes it's business to client. So you really need to understand what you want to build on to be able to deploy a model. So as I mentioned before, when we have the idea of data operations, when we have all of this system for testing, security, governance, data management, we are versioning our data. We are versioning our code with Git, of course. We're going to be versioning our models like ML Flow or with Pachyderm. When we do all of that, what we're going to do next is we're going to understand how can we deploy our systems automatically and how can we track our deployments. And for that, we're going to use also ML Flow. We're going to use Streamlit and maybe Dash. I'm not doing an R course for this. If you want an R course that is awesome, take a look at Matt Dancho. Matt Dancho, he has an amazing course, and he has several courses on a lot of these things for R. So if you want an R course, go with him because he's my friend and he's an awesome guy, and he really does a great job on that. By the way, if you want a course on SQL, my friend Christian Kerr has a great SQL course. And if you want a data visualization course where you are learning to explore your data, Kate Stranchi, she has a great course on that. I'm going to be putting all those links in my newsletter, so don't worry. Okay. So for deployment, we're going to use several tools, and we're going to understand what it means to deploy a model. And that can be deployed, and the deployment can be very different. Let me paint you a picture. I worked in a big bank, and the deployment for them meant to create a big table, like a CSV table that went into our servers, and the applications, the mobile applications was reading that table and predicting something for our customers. So that can be a deployment. Another type of deployment can be a REST API, where you have like an endpoint and you can upload data there, and it will run a model and it will give you the prediction. It can be like a streaming model where it's doing live with live in like real time. It is building the prediction. So this is very broad, and we're gonna try. I'm gonna try to cover almost everything here. Something else. I mentioned very briefly about infrastructure. And even though this is a piece for data engineering mostly, and for data engineering, I will have to recommend my friend Andreas Kretz. He has an amazing YouTube channel where he's sharing great information on data engineering, but us data scientists, we really need to understand a lot of the things we do for data engineering. We don't need to be an expert in data in like the process of engineering the data, but you really need to understand some pieces. And you want to understand which type of infrastructures there is, like cloud infrastructures, on-premise infrastructures. And there are even hybrid stuff, like you have some streaming data and you have some batch data, like the Lambda architecture. So we're going to cover that in that session, where I'm going to go into detail on how you can realize which type of infrastructure is better for your problem and your company. Finally, when we talk about infrastructure, we need to talk about something called tools. So we're going to go and see different tools in like AWS, Dataiku, Azure Machine Learning. We're going to be covering a lot of different platforms that are out there, and they're just awesome. So if you don't know them, I'm going to be covering at least the basics of the most important ones. So whenever you are in charge of deciding what to use, you at least know that they exist and you can choose one of them. So in the final part of this season, I'm going to be covering two things. The first one will be data teams, how to build effective teams for data science. And that means which type of position exists in a data science project. What do you need? Do you need programmers? Do you need business people? Do you need front-end people, back-end people? Do you need graphic designers? Do you need UX experts? So we're going to discover all of that in that piece. And the final part will be agility for data science. And that is agile methods for data science. I have an article on that on Business Science. I wrote that article with Matt Dancho, and we created a spin-up of the Business Science Problem Framework. That is a methodology to do data science. So in that article, the idea was to create like this new agile way of doing data science. It didn't go that further. So in the process, what I'm telling you all of this, I'm going to be creating that methodology with you. So by the end of this season, we're going to have a whole methodology that will explain to you how can you build a data science project, which people do you need to do it, and how can you get value out of data. We're going to transform data into value. Remember, data science depends on you to create value for your company. If you're not creating value, if you're not solving problems, you're just doing research. And there's nothing bad with that. If you want to do research, you can go into a school, an institute, and you can be an expert in machine learning research. And that's awesome. We need you as well. I mean, we need people that are reading papers, that are writing papers. That's awesome. But that's not what a data scientist should do. You're not here to just do research. I mean, you can do research, but you're here to solve problems and to add value. So that is the whole picture. I'm gonna tell each of the bullets of the bullets one by one. So we're gonna get started with business understanding. We're gonna go to data collection. We're gonna go to data exploration and data preparation. We're gonna go to feature engineering, knowledge discovery. We're going to go to modeling and machine learning. And then we're going to introduce the concept of data operations. And in there, I'm going to talk about security, governance, data management, and monitoring and deployment of machine learning models. We're going to learn how to really create a whole infrastructure for data science. And for that, we're going to be covering some tools, cloud tools, on-premise tools, hybrid tools. Finally, we're going to be covering data teams, how to build an effective data team, and finally, agility and agile methods for data science. That will be like the thing that will combine everything together. How to really transform your company with data science and with agility. How to really create something amazing from the data you have or from the data you want to collect. So it's gonna be a lot of job, but it's gonna be an awesome thing to do. And again, the idea will be that these sessions we're going to are going to be a sneak peek on what you're going to see on my course. Closter is about to start launching courses, so please follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram or on Twitter as at Closter Team. You can find us here at LinkedIn at Closter, and we even have a Facebook page, Closter, as well. So make sure to follow us because we're going to be announcing a lot of great stuff. And very soon, if you're here and you're an expert in data science or you're an expert in your field, we may need you. So very soon we're going to be announcing that we need professors. So very soon we're going to be launching that application so you can build a course with us. The idea here is to create courses that can really transform businesses and that can really teach people on how to do stuff. This is not going to be your average course where you are seeing videos and you're getting bored. We're going to really transform the way you do things so you can really be what you want, what you want to be, and you are happy with your knowledge and you are not facing the problems or finding 10 different courses for building a data science project. So again, the course the idea I have right now is to launch the course first in Spanish and very soon in English. That's the idea I have right now. And again, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Or in our newsletter, I'm going to be announcing everything in here. You're going to get more information than what I'm saying right now. Make sure to follow us on YouTube. If you search for Closter on YouTube, you're gonna see us there. Follow our podcast on Spotify or iTunes or Google Podcast. And so if you want to learn something or you feel that you want more of something, please write us. Okay, so don't hesitate on telling us, hey, I really think that you should add a session on this because this is very important. Or I want to know more about this library in Python. Can you build something for that? So we're happy here to hear you. We want to add value to you so you're happy and you are learning and you are inspired. Inspiration is a great, great tool to get to success. And that's what we want to build with you. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here, for listening to I want to thank again our almost 24,000 subscribers on the newsletter. I want to thank my great team, Gabriel, Eileen, and Hazel, our Closter team. And I'm going to see you very soon next week with the first session on the basics of data science. Thank you very much and see you soon.